Hi everybody, LG here, and welcome to r/relationships. Like I told you all on yesterday's video, every time there's an update, I will prioritize that, and that is happening on this video. So let's get started with that first story. This one's from user ThrowArray Date Him Then. My 27 female boyfriend, 28 male, is obsessed with my ex, 27 male. We've been together for 2 years, and before this, I would say our relationship was very close to perfect. At the beginning of the year, though, my boyfriend and I were at a grocery store and we bumped into my ex and another friend. This was the first time they had ever met each other. We made polite conversation before going our separate ways. My boyfriend made a sarcastic comment about how nice my ex was when he was out of earshot. I didn't think much of it at the time. A few weeks after this, I noticed he was on my ex's Facebook page. When I asked him what he was doing, he shrugged it off and said he was curious because he saw my ex had commented on Luke's, a mutual friend of ours and my ex's, post. He's since friended him on there and claimed my ex was the one to initiate it. He's followed him on Instagram and Twitter too. He comments on a lot of his posts too, but my ex rarely comments back. He also somehow got Luke to invite him to my ex and his friends' weekly virtual hangouts. I mentioned I found it weird that they were hanging out, but he dismissed it and said it wasn't a big deal. He's also started talking about changing his career path to what my ex is doing, and makes snide comments about if his dad paid his way for him, he could take me on fancy trips too. He's also become incredibly passive-aggressive towards me and makes comments about how if my ex didn't move abroad for a few years, we probably would never have dated. If I say no to anything, including sex, he comments about how he bets I wouldn't say no if my ex was the one asking. He also got really sulky when he realized I still had a gift my ex gave me. Yesterday, we had a massive fight over it because I wanted to spend time together, but he ditched me to go hang out with my ex. I got so upset I told him he might as well date my ex instead. I don't really know what to do now. He's giving me the silent treatment and I heard him tell my ex what I said, which is really humiliating. What can I do to make him stop hanging out with my ex? Well, OP, to be honest, this is like a first for me where a new boyfriend is so into the old boyfriend. In my experience, which is not that big, this has never happened before. I've never heard any of my friends, or me in any case, be like, hey, I want to hang out with your ex. I really want to be friends with him. Let me follow him on Instagram, on Twitter, and friend him on Facebook. That whole thing is weird to me. But apart from that, all the other things that he's doing, that's not okay. The thing that stood out to me the most is how he tries to manipulate you into doing things by making comments about your ex and how you wouldn't say no to him or stuff like that. I'd say in general, your boyfriend really gives me a bad vibe from how you describe him. But how about we also take a look at what the community's saying to OP to see what kind of advice she gets. Econ Girl 7 says, hey, so you mentioned that your relationship was close to perfect before this, but considering this started nearly a year ago, this new dynamic characterizes almost half of your 2 years together. Sounds a lot like he had on a honeymoon period mask and has now revealed his true colors. Sorry, but I don't think getting your boyfriend to stop hanging out with your ex solves your problem. Your current boyfriend has serious issues and is demonstrating a willingness to try to build himself up by tearing you down. He is also apparently pretty manipulative and controlling. So many red flags. He's managed to make you rethink ever saying no to him because you're trying to avoid a manufactured fight in which he compares himself to your ex. He sulks to get his way. He guilts you to get his way by saying you probably wouldn't say no to your ex. Passive-aggressive, etc. It appears he's testing your boundaries to figure out what emotional manipulation he can apply to get his way. He's punishing you by weaponizing things you say while discussing your relationship with him and telling them to others to shame you and make you less likely to advocate for yourself later. Kind of sounds like he's trying to make you jealous to prove you love him more. Possibly stemming from insecurity, but could be more malintentioned than that. Constant testing of affection is not a great strategy for longevity. He's insincere. The two-faced thing he has going on with snide comments about how nice your ex was and making fun of the opportunities, connections your ex had in his career at the same time, as he's trying to build a relationship with him to leverage his career connections, is definitely going to catch up with him. The way you describe it, it's deeply creepy how he manipulated his way into your ex's friend circle. I'm sure you want back the boyfriend you thought you had prior to this revelation, but he probably doesn't exist. This is who you're dating. Even if you get him to stop hanging out with your ex, he's demonstrated how he interacts in relationships once he's made it to the comfort level. He will use what he learned through this period to get you to think it's too much of an inconvenience to stick up for yourself in other ways. Please don't buy into the sunk cost fallacy. You've got too much of your life still ahead of you for that. Don't take my word for it. I highly recommend you read Lundy Bancroft's Why Does He Do That? I think you'll recognize your boyfriend. Yikes Sykes says, red flags all around. It sounds like your guy is deeply insecure and channeling that insecurity into loathing. He's already taking it out on you, manipulating you, pressuring you in the bedroom, even attempting to turn your seemingly amicable ex on you. He's pushing your boundaries and his demands are impossible. Nothing you do will fix his insecurity, and so he will continue to lash out and demean you. I know because I've been there. This relationship sounds nothing close to perfect. I sincerely hope you distance yourself from him and get some perspective. Best of luck. Countess Sardine says, your boyfriend is clearly going through some things that he's not prepared to discuss with you like an adult. So I take this to a couples counselor. If your boyfriend won't go, dump him. You deserve so much better than this. Well, it sounds like the community got the exact same bad vibe that I did. However, that first commenter, she really had a lot to dissect there. Made very clear points and strong arguments, so hopefully you'll listen. Anyways, this story has an update, so let's continue with that to see what happened next. After my last post, I tried to take the advice in the comments and suggested couples counseling, and I asked my boyfriend to cut off my ex. But he got angry at me again. He claimed I was the one who needed therapy because I had jealousy issues, and that my ex was one of his good buddies and I couldn't dictate who he was friends with. Then, a week later, he had another hangout with my ex and his friends, where he proceeded to very loudly tell them how I was so insecure, and I was trying to tell him who he could speak to. My ex and Luke had to tell him to stop, which he didn't like at all. I should have just broken up with him at this point, but I was stupid and still clinging to the hope of my boyfriend going back to how he was. After this happened, my boyfriend was constantly making jabs at my ex and Luke, but then he would still contact them and pretend to be friends with them. Then he became super interested in what my sex life was like with my ex. He was constantly asking me who was better between the two of them, and he would ask if I had done this or that with my ex. I kept telling him I didn't want to talk about it and to stop asking me. I then find out from my ex and Luke that he had been asking my ex directly the same questions and that he had been bragging about our sex life to his friends. My ex said he was telling me because my boyfriend made a comment about loaning me to my ex if he ever felt like recreating old times. That was the final straw for me, and I broke up with him and moved out. My now ex-boyfriend didn't take the breakup well, and he went on a smear campaign. He even contacted my family and my ex's family to tell them we were apparently having an affair and that he had no choice but to break up with me. It's been almost a month since we broke up, and he keeps getting new numbers to text and call me. Deep down, I think I knew this would be how things ended. I'm sad about the relationship I thought we had ending, but now that I've had space away from my ex-boyfriend, I feel much better, and it's like a huge weight has been lifted from my shoulders. Well, OP, good for you. Like you say, you should have ended things before this, when he was bad-mouthing you to his supposed friends. So on this particular point, I have a very personal opinion. I don't think that you should ever badmouth or complain about your partner to your friends. I believe that if you have an issue within your relationship, then you owe it to your partner to try to fix it with them and communicate. And if you just can't communicate and can't get over this, well, that either means the end of the relationship or you can try counseling. So let me know what you think in the comment section, and now let's continue with the next story. This one's from user, what the F do I do now anyway? Husband, 40 male, texting his ex, 37 female, and deleting them. Hi, first time poster on Reddit. I need some advice. My husband, 40 male, and I, 34 female, have been married for 5.5 years, together for 8.5. It is the most amazing and fulfilling relationship I've ever had, and he feels the same, or so I thought. Like, seriously, this man makes me feel like a princess, the center of his world. Sure, we argue sometimes, but in general, things are great. We even talked often about how even though the pandemic sucks, we are so happy that we are stuck inside with one another all day, every day. Recently, he has been having trouble at work. He's been very stressed. When he is stressed, he finds it hard to enjoy normal things in life. I've been doing the best I can to keep his home life stress-free, and he appreciates it. Unfortunately, we've had a few pretty big fights over the past few months as well. I put it in quotes because they're not really fights, they're more like standoffs where he lets something build and build until it explodes, and I have no idea what's going on but have to deal with the mood, etc. And the real problem comes out after he's calmed down a bit. Yes, it is stressful for me, but that's not even what I'm asking for advice on. Due to a few red flags that have come up when discussing issues, I became a little suspicious. I can't explain it, but I had a feeling that there was something that he wasn't telling me. I've never been one to check his phone or anything like that. I honestly never thought about it because of how in love with me he is. I never had any reason to suspect anything unsavory was going on. So, I logged into our cell account, which lets you see the numbers and times of texts and phone calls, but not the content. Oh boy. Over the past 3 to 4 weeks, he has been texting his ex-wife, 37 female, with alarming frequency. They start every day when he starts work and stops every day when he signs off. They range from few times a day to more recently, almost 200 times per day. Even when we worked in the office and weren't together during the day, I doubt we texted 200 times per day. I'm not gonna lie, I freaked out. I've barely been able to look at him since I found this yesterday. I had to check his phone to see what was going on. Guess what I found? Nothing. Not a single text between them. Which is strange because they do talk sometimes, and I've always been fine with that. He's told me from the beginning of our relationship that he had no remaining feelings for her at all, as the reason they divorced in the first place is that she cheated on him and majorly screwed him over, and he could never have feelings for her after that. Now I'm at a loss what to do. He's never before given me any reason to be suspicious of anything he's done. I know he hasn't seen her in person. We have been trapped inside for over a year, and we also share a car, so there's no chance of anything physical having happened. But this still feels shady and wrong to me, and alarms are blaring in my head. How do I even broach this subject with him? Is it even possible that this is all innocent and some big misunderstanding? Yikes, this sounds really bad. OP, I'm sorry, all of the evidence is kind of pointing towards something, but of course, you want to try to trust your significant other. If we take a look at the hard, cold facts, there are 2 possible things that are going on. 1, he's having an emotional affair. Or 2, he's planning something that he doesn't want you to know yet and it involves his ex-wife somehow, which is the least likely scenario. The fact that he's texting her almost 200 times a day and then deleting all the texts, he's clearly hiding something. It just seems super sketchy. What do you guys think? In the meantime, let's go take a look at what the community has to say about this. Bucky 2015 says, yeah, if he's deleting the texts, it's because he knows whatever they are talking about is inappropriate and would piss you off. They are likely having an emotional affair. Ma Throwaway says, quote, how do I even broach this subject with him? End quote. I was looking at your phone bill and I noticed you've been texting with your ex-wife a lot. What is that about? Quote, is it even possible that this is all innocent and some big misunderstanding? End quote. No. You're having a hard time letting this sink in because you thought everything was great, but everything is not great. If there was nothing bad in those texts, he wouldn't be deleting them. And 200 texts in a day is effing crazy. If you weren't married, I would just say break up with him and move on. Don't even bother laying out why. But that's less of an option here. You need to sit him down and have a conversation about this. Tell him you know about the texts and see how he responds. If he does anything but come clean and fall over himself to apologize and agree to couples counseling, then you'll know what to do. Throw Adrift says, definitely a red flag that these fights with you have coincided with his flurry of texts with the ex. Signs that he's doing something wrong and it's showing in his behavior. Tell him you saw the cell logs and ask him to tell you what's going on. Well, I guess I'm not the only one who thinks there's something very, very weird going on here. And most likely emotional cheating. So what do you guys think? If you were in OP and you had this kind of evidence, what would your conclusion be and what would you do after that? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the next story. This one's from user Bojack Zebraman. My 40 male wife's 35 female financial philosophy is causing conflict. Hi everyone, this is my first post on this Reddit. I'm a 40-year-old male living with my 35-year-old wife and our 2 kids. We are currently based in her home country in former Soviet Union after we moved here from my job last year. Unfortunately, I was made redundant in September, and I haven't had regular employment since, just some short-term consulting and online jobs. Financially, we have almost depleted our savings and my payoff. Things are not looking great for the next month or 2, but I will have some temporary work towards the end of May. My wife has not found any work despite the situation, and this irritates me. I have also suffered from depression and stress badly during this time, but I have always gritted my teeth and pushed to try and find solutions. But I don't think she's trying at all. I am exhausted and I wish with all my heart that she would relieve some of this burden. End of backstory. The issue is that my wife has rather irrational views about money. Due to the financial situation, I have stopped buying gifts and luxuries. That said, I have kept paying for her studies. I don't think we should be spending money carelessly until we have a proper regular income. In her eyes, she says that this is me neglecting my role as a husband. She claims that I do not pay enough attention to her as a woman. I have tried to explain that I need help with ensuring we have a healthier financial position, and that I am also not in the best physical and psychological condition. I need her to be on my side and not against me. These unrealistic demands are taking a toll on me, so much so that I am becoming very unattracted to her now. It's difficult to want someone who has no interest in ensuring you are in a good way. Today pushed me too far. I explained that until I receive my consulting fee, we are unable to do more than the bare minimum. Her view, which I find illogical, was that men who give their women more in terms of attention and money find that it is returned in a bigger way. Basically, if I give her what she wants, I will get richer as a reward from the universe. This has coupled with a demand for her to travel to a mountain resort for her to rest. To me, this is insanity. We are at the point where we can just about put food on the table and a roof over our heads, but no luxuries. Paying for a holiday for her only strikes me as selfish and unfair behavior. In her eyes, it's my duty to provide this, and if I don't, I should just leave her to be happy and she will find someone who will. I don't think this is a real threat, but it is painful and childish. The one thing stopping me throwing everything is access to my kids. If we didn't have such amazing kids, I'd be gone. So I ask, am I being overly harsh in my interpretation of a situation, or is my spouse acting like a spoiled child? Maybe I'm just being overly sensitive, or maybe this is completely screwed up. Would be good to have some feedback. Thank you. Oi, OP, you are in a very difficult position. What I understand from what you've written is that you and your wife have clearly different ideas of what a partner should do or what their role is in your life. And I believe this is where your problem lies. This could be cultural or could have a different root, but this is where you need to clear things up. You two need to sit down and really talk about the expectations you have of each other. Then my other question should be, does your wife know that you guys are running out of money? Have you ever told her? Have you gone through the financials with her? If she doesn't, then maybe that's another part of the problem and you need to explain to her what's going on, show her the bank statements and all of that. If you want to be able to rely on her as a partner, then she should be privy to all of the information a partner should have. Now, if after having this conversation, she does not agree with you on what you want from her, and she just wants you to pamper her and pay for things for her because that is your duty as a man, then you guys have a bigger issue. One that I don't think you're going to be able to solve with a Reddit post. But anyways, what do you guys think? Let me know your opinion in the comments section, and let's continue with the community comments to see what kind of advice they gave OP. Wrath of Antar says, I came here to say that your wife's view of gender roles sound very Russian, Soviet. I'm from there myself, but lots of posters beat me to it. To directly answer your question, yes, she is acting like a spoiled child. Responsibilities and necessities come first, then luxuries. I broke up with my last long-term partner because he could not grasp this concept of financial responsibility. The rest she gets at a mountain resort won't amount to much if you two end up on the street after it due to no money. You are 100% in the right, but your challenge will be to get your wife to see it, because it sounds like you come from two very different worldviews. Bird on the Wing says, ugh, your wife has such a very specifically Russian view on gender roles. I'm sorry. Source, I'm a Russian immigrant in USA, and while my family came from too much poverty to have those views, I know plenty of formerly well-off Russian women who still believe this nonsense. I don't have any advice. I'm sorry, but I feel for you. The Juicy Calamari says, looks like tough times reveal your partner's true colors. Okay, so I guess it is kind of cultural then. But the question still stands. What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? And on that note, we've reached the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun reading these stories for you. So if you did like it, go ahead and click like. If you still haven't subscribed, then what are you waiting for? Come on and join us and subscribe. And if you want to engage with the community even further, there's a link in the description to our Discord server where everybody will be waiting for you. There are other links there as well that might be interesting for you. And finally, of course, I want to thank you for watching this video. It really means a lot to me that you do. And having said all that, I will see you guys in the next video.